This is the most important step that we can possibly take when sending files to our mastering engineer right here. My name is Tyson. I'm a mastering engineer at dinosaurdogstudio.com, and today we're going to be looking at how to prep your songs before sending it off to get mastered. There's a few things that your mastering engineer will need from you in order to master effectively, and so this is going to be looking at your session files and how you should send it, what also to remove from your mix before sending it. All right, and before we dive into the content, I do want to let you know that I have two free guides, an EQ and compression guide, that you can pick up in the description on this video. It's just the first link in there, so you don't have to search very far to grab those free guides. All right, without any further ado, let's dive straight into the content. All right, so we have a mix session here that we're going to be preparing for our mastering engineers. After we're done mixing, we are ready to ship it off to our mastering engineer, but there's a few steps that we want to make sure we take before we do that to ensure that our mastering engineer can actually do their job effectively. The first thing that we want to do is we want to look at our mix bus specifically. This is the most important step that we can possibly take when sending files to our mastering engineer right here. This plugin is a limiter. If we have any limiting on our mix bus, we need to remove that before sending it to our mastering engineer. Our mastering engineer, part of their job is to limit the mix. If we already have it super compressed and it's over compressed especially, then our mastering engineer will not be able to do their job. They cannot uncompress things to then recompress them correctly. Any compression that we have on our mix bus can probably be removed. So I'm just gonna remove all of these. And then the only EQ that I want on my mix bus is anything that's really essential for the mix. So I will probably have some sort of EQ on here. Let's just look through what we have. This looks like some, there's a little bit of EQ here, some compression. A little bit of compression is okay, but any major forms of compression is probably not. I'm just gonna remove this as well, and also our secondary EQ here. Don't need that. I also don't need that. So I've removed almost all of the processing on the mix bus. Again, primarily compression, because mastering engineers know what they're doing with compression. And so they're probably going to be able to compress the mix bus, or the mix essentially, better. Might as well just let them do their job. So remove any compression and limiting from the mix bus, and any obvious EQ that's not necessary for the mix to sound like the mix. The next thing to do is make sure that we still have some headroom available before we send off the mix. So let's go to the loudest part of the song. It's probably over here. Maybe over here. There we go. Okay, so it looks like we have about -6, -7 decibels of headroom, and that is really, really good. That is exactly what we want on this. If I did not have enough headroom, what I would do is I'd go to all of everything feeding into this stereo out, this mix bus, which is basically all my buses I have here. I'm gonna select all of them. Got them all selected, and I'm just gonna turn them down. So say I, need a little bit more headroom, I'm just gonna turn it down by, say, 3 decibels. So now I have a little bit more headroom for my mastering engineer to deal with. Ultimately, now we are ready to export our file for our mastering engineer. And so you can hit Command B in Logic Pro, or just go here to bounce and do project or section. And make sure you have the entire project selected. So all the way to the end, it's 60 bars in this case. Do the highest resolution and sample rate you possibly can, or bit rate and sample rate. You want an interleaved file, so this is basically would split it into 2 different files, a right and a left. You want one file, have no dithering, and then no normalization. And then you hit OK, and you'll bounce your file for your mastering engineer. And then you'll deliver that via Google Drive, WeTransfer, or any other transfer site. Talk to your mastering engineer on how they would actually like you to receive the file. However, this will give you the file you want. Do not ever send your mastering engineer an MP3. You want the highest resolution, and the best file type is, it says PCM, but it's actually a WAV file or an AIFF file. Those are the 2 file types. That is going to give you the highest resolution and the best results from your master. I hope this was helpful in terms of learning how to export your file for a mastering engineer and some things to keep in mind when you're doing that. Should be a pretty simple process as long as you've set up your mix correctly and you don't have too much gain going into your stereo out. All right, with that, thanks for watching. Hope this was helpful and have a great week.